Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Today, and this video will come to you in two parts. Part 1, the vlog. That is to say, part 1 will be a video blog recording my summary of major events in my life since my last video blog, which was... Part 1, the vlog, will be split into 3 parts. Part 1, camping. I've recently returned from a camping trip at Oxbow Park, footage of which will be shown over my voice. During this camping trip, I had no access to internet, electricity, camping, Wi-Fi, anything, important or wonderful that humanity has created in the last 50 years. Electricity wasn't created in the last 50 years. What are you talking about, Zeth? Don't you know anything? And it's sort of cliche, but, you do look at the world differently when you aren't connected to everybody at all times, and you don't even, know what time it is most of the time. It's weird. Plus, look at these deer. Deer. Running around. Deer. Look at him go. Dear. Overall, certainly a worthwhile trip. Very glad I did it. Helped, reintroduce simplicity into my life for a few days. And that's exactly what I needed. Part 1, 2. Obese conclusion. Some of my buddies and I, that is to say Sage Krenning, Levi Markham, Seth Frecky, and Hayden Jameson, have been collaborating to create a podcast we call Obese Conclusion. I wasn't there when they named it. I didn't really think it was a good idea, but whatever, I stick with it. That's been really great too, because, it's just us 5 getting together and talking about stuff and collaborating to make this thing. Who cares if 3 people watch it? I mean, that's only marginally less than these videos, and I still do them. Well, do them. If any of you is interested in hearing what we have to say, or, blather on for a while, which I expect is next to none of you, we do new episodes every 2 weeks, and I'll put a link in the doobly-doo, and probably pop up some pictures around the screen that's, vaguely relate to it. That's a good one. Oh, wait, now that you got me thinking about it, Part 1, 2B, Dungeons and Dragons. Some of my buddies and I, that is to say Sage Krenning, Levi Markham, Seth Frecky, and Hayden Jameson, are also coming together to start a D&D game, which I will be DMing. That was a lot of acronyms, and truly I apologize for the uninitiated. So I've been writing up a bunch of history and stories and maps of this fictional world of my own creation that these people, run around in and roll dice at and stuff. And it's really great. This episode is officially going to be called It's Really Great, a story of how Zeth gushed about his own life for 20 minutes. But doing all this stuff with all these people, it's making me realize how much I love doing things and collaborating with cool people like Sage Krenning, Levi Markham, Hayden Jameson, and Seth Frecky. And it just makes me wish I had more time to, do those things with those people, which brings me to the next part. Part 1-3, going to school. So as many of you may know, I currently attend Lewis and Clark College. I'm a freshman and it's the spring semester right now. And I believe I am taking the most revolutionary class I've ever taken in my young life. I'm currently taking a really basic computer science class. It's really low level, it doesn't even count towards the major or anything. But I'm really loving it. I've always wanted to take a computer science class, and now I am, and it's exactly what I thought it would be. Super fun. This class is just about creating apps for Android phones, which is, simple, but a blast. And I think, because of how much fun I've been having in this class, I'm gonna declare my major as computer science. I mean, I'm not gonna declare my major, but it seems pretty set right now. I think I'm gonna take another class next semester and see how that goes, but I'm optimistic. And who knows what I can do with a computer science major. A lot of stuff, hopefully. But, even if I can't, it's fun. That's important, too. As a side note, it's Pig the cat! So Lake's old cat is living here now, and he's the best cat that I've ever seen. He's my favorite cat. He's definitely my favorite cat in the history of all the cats that I've ever known, which is a lot of cats. You're top dog. Oh, wait, I don't think I'm supposed to say that. As such, I'd like to call for a salute to Pig the cat. Well, that's that. I believe that brings me to Part 2. Part 2. The video games. In a video I made recently... Okay, yeah, recently. Shut up! In a video I made recently, I said I was going to make another video about what my favorite video game of all time was. Well, here's that. Part 2 of this video is going to be brought to you as a list of 5 video games. My top 5 favorite video games in order, starting from number 5. My 5th favorite game of all time? Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker on the Nintendo GameCube. Now, unlike a lot of other people seem to have, I loved Wind Waker when I first played it. I loved the art style, I adored sailing. Definitely deserves a spot in my top 5, and that's why it's there. Number 4 is a bit tricky for me because I adore both of these next 2 games for a lot of the same reasons. They're similar in several ways, and they are Mount and Blade Warband and Crusader Kings 2 for the PC. Now, what I love about both of these games is that they're both games where you make a story. Both of these games have multiplayer aspects where you have to be competitive with other players, but I've never really been into that sort of thing. What I loved about both of these 2 games is that they made you feel like you're living in this world and that you have a part in it. You can change it. In Mount and Blade, you live on the fictional continent of Calradia, where you gather an army, make a name for yourself, become a king in your own right! Crusader Kings 2 is a medieval dynasty simulator. It's a strategy game, very different from Mount and Blade, which is I mean, it has strategy, but it's a hack and slash. You're in first person, running around with a sword and hitting people. In Crusader Kings 2, you're moving armies around, assassinating political opponents. Very different in gameplay, like I said, but overall, I feel they're very similar in theme and in feel. Both of them task you with gaining lands, making political gains, forging alliances. But most importantly, after I play either of them, I walk away with a story. Because they're sandboxed, I can do whatever I want. It's something I can tell people about. I can tell people about the time that I successfully killed literally 1,000 forest bandits in Mount and Blade using only my army of like 200 people. That's a story that I can remember, and I can tell people. Whether people want to listen is a different story, but I mean, these are probably the games that I've spent the most time playing total, just because there's so many different things you can do, and that's why I love them so much. And that's why they're number 4 on my top 5 list, which I mean, I guess makes it a top 6 list if you want to get technical, with 2 of them being tied, but which brings me to number 3. Pokemon. That's right. All of them. You know all the games in the main series. Screw you, Pokemon Ranger. And honestly, I can't really decide which Pokemon is my favorite Pokemon. I mean, if I had to pick, I'd probably say Pokemon Pearl was my favorite, simply because that's when I really got into the series. But that's what it is, a series. You know, they build on each other, they improve features and mechanics, they add more Pokemon. It's not like I'm going to exclusively play Pearl just because it's my favorite. There are a series of games that build on each other, and for that reason I can't just pick one. It's my third favorite game as a series. And the reason for that should be obvious. I mean, I just love Pokemon, I love their design and thinking about them, and I have like my top favorites. And it's a series that I've been living with and interacting with since I was like 6. Pokemon Red was the first game that I ever played. And for that reason, it's my third favorite game. Second favorite game of all time. Mass Effect 2. Now I love all the Mass Effect games, but 2 is definitely my favorite. It's hard for me to exactly explain why Mass Effect 2 is my favorite game of the trilogy, but it's just so well made and tightly packed. I've played it over and over again, and I've loved it every single time. In addition, the way that they factor in the choices that you made in the first game is brilliant, and the way that it leads into the third game, also fantastic. And although the actual stories of Mass Effect 1 and 3 might be a little bit better than 2, I felt that the gameplay itself was certainly the best in Mass Effect 2. Not much else to say about it, just a fantastic game. Which leads me to number 1. My favorite game of all time. Tarn Adams' epic fantasy simulation, Dwarf Fortress. I mean, look at those graphics. How could it not be my favorite? So here's the thing about Dwarf Fortress. It is hard as balls. Now that I think about it, I don't really know what that saying means. I mean, once you get used to it, it's pretty easy. You know, I can pretty routinely set up a dwarf fortress, which is the goal of the game, that will survive for a long time and probably never die. But the thing is, before you're used to it, it's impenetrable. Look at it. This isn't a user interface. This is just a massive ASCII middle finger. But once you're able to move yourself past that learning cliff, bliss. It exists in that same sort of space as Crusader Kings 2 and Mount and Blade, in that it's a game that generates stories. But things are different in Dwarf Fortress. Anything can happen in Dwarf Fortress. Now I call this game an epic medieval simulation, or something like that. And that's really because that's what it is. It simulates entire worlds. From the point of its creation through hundreds of years of history, this randomly generated fantasy world, and every single person in it is simulated, and you can jump into this world and do whatever you want in it. You can wreak havoc or just live as a member of it, and the whole game is free, and it's made by one guy, and oh my god, it's the best game ever! But like I said, certainly very hard. Not for everyone. And that's it. I finally decided. Those are my top 5 favorite games of all time. It's the end of the video, so I think I'm gonna go see what Lake's doing.
No. Stop. Please don't put me in.
Too late.
Are you done? I'm done. Stop!